SPX Aurora Pro Plexi Digital RGB water block. And if that isn't big enough for you, well, I will tell you the water block itself is quite large. This particular water block that we have here, the Pro version, is designed to work with all of your larger sized chips, whether it be the Intel 2011, the 2066, or the 3647, or the AMD Threadripper. This water block is designed to work directly on it. The water block itself is available in two different finishes. This particular one that I have in my hand is the chrome model, as you can see with the chrome edging and the chrome face on the inside, but also available is a black version. As you can see, it's a nice black edge all the way around it, and kind of neat part about that, I used my fingernail and you can see it kind of like scraping. Well, it's actually not scraping. It's because of the finish that's on the outside of the block. I just took my finger and kind of rub that right off. So the finish on the outside of it is actually really, really strong and durable, as well as black finish on the inside. So that's honestly the two major differences between the two blocks, other than, you know, black and chrome. But again, these blocks are designed to work with your Threadripper, your Intel 2011, 2066, but all of that information is actually in the manual, which is included in the box here. In the manual, you'll get which CPUs it works with, how to properly clean the CPU before you actually install it, and which brackets that you're going to need when you do go to install it, and which ones are used for which chip. That's just one of the many things included in the box here. Also included is, well, the water block itself, but also the mounting brackets, as I was just talking about, for the various chips. You have your AMD and your two different Intels, but on top of that, you also have the screws and the springs to hold down the block itself, some thermal paste, and the RGB adapter cable. So the RGB that runs inside of these water blocks have a proprietary end here that Alphacool has included inside of it, an adapter cable. So if your motherboard does have the digital RGB header on it, you can plug this in and plug this directly into the water block, and then you would be using the signal from your motherboard to control the digital RGB in the water block itself. Along with that, you also have, you'll notice at the end of the cable there's a little bit of a Y split. So if you take this apart, where I connect it, the feed end, that's your 5-volt digital RGB signal going into the water block. There's also this end here, which is just another lead out. So say you had either another water block or one of the digital RGB fittings or one of their cables, you could plug it directly in to the other water block and use the feed from the first water block to the second digital RGB signal, which is actually pretty neat. So if you don't want to buy an external digital RGB controller, which is sold separately but available also from Alphacool, you can use the cable that is included here, the proprietary end, to the 5-volt end to your motherboard. These water blocks here are readily available from Alphacool and their many distributors, and would be a great addition into any water cooling build. This is the Alphacool Aurora addressable RGB LED ring, and this is designed to work with your HardTube lines and to be placed along one of your HardTube runs to give it illumination around the HardTube, the fitting, as well as the fluid. So included in the kit is one of the LED rings, as well as a adapter cable. This adapter cable allows you to hook it up into any 5-volt addressable RGB header on your motherboard, or if you wanted to, you could purchase one of these Alphacool digital RGB controllers. And this RGB controller will hook directly up into the LED ring simply by using the 2 pin that are here and the 1 pin, and connecting it to the 2 pin and the 1 pin. And as you can see, it's doing a fancy effect that the controller has programmed in it. Now the controller allows you to adjust, you know, what type it is, what color it is, how fast it is, slow it is. But on top of that, you also have a split in this cable. So if you wanted to run multiple setups, what you could do is hook up multiple fittings. The fittings come in two different sizes, 13 millimeter as well as 16 millimeter, and they also come in two different finishes, the chrome and the black. But again, if you wanted to hook these up together, all you would have to do, say this is going to your digital port, and then this is going to split to the other digital RGB light. Boom, and you connect them like that, and then you provide this power. Again, we're going to provide it off of the digital controller here. Plug it in, and as you can see, both lights are having a similar effect, and you can change the effect by, you know, obviously using the controller. So change the mode, change the speed, you know, whatever you'd like it to be, you can make it happen. Now these fittings are readily available from Alphacool and their many distributors, and would be a great addition to any custom build.
Hello, it's Dave here from Alphacool, and today we're going to have a look at how to refill or top up an Alphacool Eiswolf GPX Pro. If your pump sounds something like this, then chances are you need to top it up. There are some little bits of equipment that you'll need to top up your Eiswolf, so let's go through them and then top up the one that we have on the table here. The first thing we're going to look at is the 24-pin jumper plug. Now this simply plugs into your 24-pin cable and allows you to turn on your power supply and any Molex devices that are attached. Speaking of a power supply, you will need one. We're using a spare one that we have lying around, but obviously you can use the one that's inside your PC. Just be sure to unplug the 24-pin cable that you can see here and plug in the ATX jumper. You will also need a Molex 4-pin power cable like this one, as this will be used to power the pump on the Eiswolf GPX Pro. This will be used along with a 4-pin Molex to 3-pin fan adapter. This ensures that whilst you're filling your Eiswolf, you're not connected to any headers on your motherboard, and in fact your motherboard won't be powered. The next thing you need is a long flat-headed screwdriver. The shaft on this one's a little bit small, so if you can get one longer, that's even better. If you've purchased any recent Alphacool products that include our new flush stop fittings, you've probably been given one of these. This tool just allows you to turn the stop fittings easier without damaging them. If you don't have one of these available, a coin or something similar can be used instead. Try not and use a screwdriver though, unless it's got a very wide tip. Next, we'll need some kitchen roll, toilet paper or cloth, anything really that can catch any drips. And also, you'll need some fluid. We recommend using Alphacool CKC. This fluid comes with inhibitors to stop metal corrosion and is also made to stop algae and bacteria growth. Last but not least, you'll need a filling utensil. This can be either a fill bottle, a syringe or simply a funnel. Now we've got the boring stuff out of the way, let's top up the Eiswolf GPX Pro. Using a tool or a coin, remove the stop fitting at the top of the radiator. Make sure you keep the stop fitting safe as you don't want to lose this, however replacement stop fittings are available if you do need one. Next, using a screwdriver or something similar, remove the O-ring. I simply pulled it up and then used my fingers to get a better grip of it to ensure it didn't fall inside the radiator. Once again, keep the O-ring safe because you will need it when you reassemble the Alphacool Eiswolf GPX Pro. We're going to speed up the next part of the process, but all we're doing is filling up the fill bottle with CKC. You won't need much fluid as the Eiswolf is pre-filled, so we're only topping up what's been lost over time. We remove quite a lot of water from our Eiswolf, so we will need a lot more than you. Replace the lid on the CKC so you don't knock it over accidentally, and then fill up the radiator. Slow and steady wins the race here. Don't go too crazy and keep an eye on the port. Don't worry too much if you do overfill and have a few dribbles, just use the towel or the kitchen roll and clean it up. Continue to fill until you see the fluid at the top of the radiator and then stop. Now comes a bit of a fun part, just give the whole unit a shake. Make sure you put your finger over the fill port to stop any fluid falling out, but other than that, just shake to your heart's content. Give it a shake, give it a shake, shaky, 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 shake. The shaky song is an optional extra, but we recommend it because, well, why not? Once you finish shaking it, check the fluid level. If the fluid level's gone down, then we know we need to add some more water. Just top it up like we did previously and continue to shake. As already mentioned, we did remove quite a lot of fluid from this cooler, so we do need to shake it a bit more. Shaking the cooler simply releases the air from outside the cooler and allows it to travel up the pipes into the radiator. You then replace this air with more fluid to ensure it doesn't run low. Repeat this process until the fluid stops going down when you shake the radiator. When the fluid does stop going down, we're going to use the kitchen roll or toilet paper or whatever you're going to use to clean it up and clean the top of the radiator. We're going to remove any excess fluid off the top of the radiator, but also put your finger inside the hole a little bit as well to remove a little bit of the fluid on the inside. This just makes installing the O-ring simpler, as you don't have to fight against the fluid. To install the O-ring, just push it in with your finger. There's a lip on the inside of the port that will stop it being pushed too far, so don't worry too much about that. Next, replace the stop fitting. You don't need to tighten this too tight, as you will be wanting to remove this again later to check on the fluid levels again. When the stop fitting's created a seal, get your power supply. Do be careful as you have been using water, so make sure your hands are dry and make sure the surfaces you're using are dry too. Next, we're going to test the pump. To do this, we're going to plug the Molex to fan header adapter in, and then also use the 24-pin jumper and plug that in. This will mean that you can turn the power supply on at the back, and now you'll give the pump power. You might not be able to hear anything from the pump, so just put your ear next to the pump so you can hear it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the pump whirling away nice and quietly. If you do hear bubbles, don't worry about it, they'll make the way to the radiator eventually, just give it some time. Once the pump is purring away like a kitten, turn the power supply off and give it a visual check. You can see the fluid at the top of the radiator, so we know this is topped up and there's no more bubbles. Now we know it's topped up, we can replace the stop fitting for a final time. Make sure you do tighten the stop fitting properly because that's it, you're finished. You can reinstall the Eiswolf back into your case. If you do need any further help with this, just drop us a message via social media, join our forums, or send us an email. The link should be on screen now, as well as in the description area. That's it for me. If you do need any help with anything, let us know and I'll try and do a video for you. Ciao for now.
This is the Alphacool Eisapfen laser fitting. And what the laser fitting is designed to do is to help you with planning out your HardTube bends, or basically allowing you to plot your various routes or line up where your fittings are coming from or the different ports on your radiator or reservoir. So inside of the kit that you have here is actually two different pieces. First, you have a 24-pin jumper cable, which allows you to power up your power supply without actually having to push the power button on the motherboard. Simply by removing the 24-pin on your power supply and plugging this directly in, it will give you power, and it will actually power on the power supply itself. On top of that, you have also the laser fitting that is included in the kit here. Now, it is a 4-pin Molex, which does require 12 volts, so it has to be a 12-volt signal. But this particular version will plug in just via the Molex connector and then turn on a nice laser coming out of the end of this fitting. So, why would you actually need to use one of these? Well, say, for example, you're planning out a build, and you're using two products, say like a V2 radiator and a Alphacool Eisball. And for some reason, you want to use one of these ports on the back of the Eisball to go directly into this radiator, which it has a port on the end here, so why shouldn't you be able to do that, right? Well, this particular radiator, despite the fact that it is the version 2, that is just a fill. However, for demonstration purposes, you understand what I'm trying to do, is just line up this hole with this hole. Right? And, you know, without having a laser or a pen or something like that, I mean, you might be able to guess, you know, by holding this in here, thinking that that might actually fit, or what you could use is the Alphacool Eisapfen laser fitting. And that's actually exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to remove this end, little end cap here, just by loosening it up just a little bit, and then taking this recessed plug that comes on the V2 radiators out, and then screwing in this this Eisapfen laser fitting. And it is G 1/4 thread, so it should just thread right into pretty much anything. But if now that it is actually threaded in there, what you can do is provide 4-pin power via the Molex connector here. But before you do that, you probably should connect the 24-pin connector to your power supply. So now that you plug that in, you can go ahead and flip the switch on the back of the power supply, which now will give it power. And then you can take your Molex power here and connect it to the Eisapfen laser. And as I plug that in, I can see it actually reflecting off of this this piece of tubing here. But as you can see on my hand here, it is actually a pretty bright laser beam. And pretty much what you're trying to do is to see if it actually is going to go in the hole the way that you thought, or the way that you had intended it to. Now, you can't exactly see it from that particular angle. However, I will show you in just a second here that it does actually line right up. You can see the beam actually comes out, as you can see on the ground here. The beam comes out of the fitting, and in this particular case, you can see that it's actually lighting up the bottom red, as it should, if it hits the back side of the piece of plexi here. But again, this is just one example of how you could use this particular laser fitting. Say you had this mounted, the radiator was mounted in a way that was coming, I don't know, say it was coming up, or it was coming down. You could actually use this laser fitting to plot your water cooling loop to see where the straight run, if you were trying to make a straight run, or 90 degree, or whatever you had, to see where that's actually going to end up landing. Again, this laser is actually relatively strong for it just being a small little fitting laser that is 12 volt. But again, it does line up, it is G 1/4, and it does fit right into pretty much any of the water cooling parts. And again, one of these handy tools that I don't think you could live without once you have one. So the Alphacool Eisapfen laser fitting is readily available from Alphacool and their many distributors, and would be a great tool for any custom water cooling build. Alphacool Eistools, and this is the Eistools Strong Guy. And what the Strong Guy is, it's a tubing and pipe deburrer. And what this particular product is meant to do is to clean up the inside and the outside edges of your hard tube runs. On the back here, it actually says that you can use it with plexi, metals, and acrylic, which is fantastic, especially in what we are doing with hard tubing runs nowadays. So this Alphacool product is black powder coat on the outside, but the inside actually has 3 blades that form a tip, a triangle tip at the top there. And then on the bottom side here, there's another 3 triangle blades that that will fit on the outside. So what we're going to do is actually show you how to use this particular product. It's fairly easy to use, however, some might not necessarily know how to put it into good practice. So once you take your tubing out of your case and you know how long you're going to be, and you cut it to length, and basically using the Alphacool miter saw box here and the Alphacool saw. I'm going to cut this piece of acrylic tubing here just quickly to show you how to use the deburrer. So after you've cut your piece of tubing here, give it a quick blowout there so you can actually see what you're working with here. You can see that the edge is, well, one, it's not exactly straight, but two, it's got a little bit of nicks and chips in it. What we're going to do is use the Strong Guy here to fix that situation. What you do is the tips pointing up are used on the inside of the tubing. So you pretty much just take your tube, stick it on the inside here, and you're going to rotate, and it makes an awful noise. But as you can see, with the plastic that's coming off on the inside, or the acrylic there that's coming off, you are actually starting to change the edge and the tip of the tubing. You can actually see that it's starting to make a little bit of a chamfer and a little bit of a slope for you there. So it's a little bit smoother and should be easier to put into the fitting. Do this until you can actually visually see a little bit of a chamfer on it, and then you'll switch over to the other side, which honestly won't sound any better. Basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to clean up all the rough edges and trying to get a nice smooth edge all the way around it. That way when you do go to put this inside of a piece of hard tube fitting, it doesn't, it's not going to catch on the O-ring there, and it's not going to rip all the way around, you know, rip the O-ring upon insertion. Again, the inside, the top here is relatively sharp and used on the inside of the tubing, and the bottom is used on the outside. And as you can see, really cleans up the edges quite nice and makes everything have a really nice and flush and smooth edge all the way around the tubing. So when you do insert it into your fittings, it won't rip the O-rings and it will go in with ease. So this deburrer is readily available from Alphacool and their many distributors, and would be a great tool to use in any water cooling hard tube build. This is the Alphacool Eiskoffer HardTube saw miter box, and what this tool is designed to do is to aid you in cutting your hard tubing in a nice straight line when you do your actual cuts. The HardTube miter box here comes with these different clamps, as well as the box itself. The clamps are designed to basically fasten to the side of the table. So what you'll have is you take the long end here, the non-threaded end, you stick it in the hole, and then you would tighten or loosen the nut on the end here to adjust where it would clamp on your table. And there's two of these, so again, you'd have it kind of sitting like this. Bam, there's two of them. You know, tighten it up to the bottom of your table, and then that would hold this fixture securely in place. Then what you would do is you would take your tubing, regardless of the size, whether it be 13mm or 16mm, there's a channel for each. You'd put your tubing in the appropriate size, line it up on your cut line there, and then proceed to cut it. So that's actually exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to take this 16mm piece of tubing here, show you how to mount these correctly to the side of the table, and give it a nice straight cut. So what you'll do is you'll take your miter box here and move it as close to the edge of the table as you can. Now, obviously, because I'm using a rounded table, it's a little bit more tricky, but if you're using a square edge table, then you'd be able to line this up perfectly. However, we're going to do the best that we can with what we've got. So you basically take one of the brackets that you have here, you jam it through the hole, and there are actually two sides to the hole here, and what you want to do is you want to put the tubing channel that you're actually cutting on closest to you. That way the bracket itself is actually holding the miter box to the table as securely as it possibly can on that channel, because if you're cutting across it, then you might actually get a little bit of a rock to it. So starting off, what you'll do is you'll take the the non-threaded end and jam it in the hole here. And probably from the get-go, this triangle support here will actually be way high, and the nut itself will be way threaded up top here. So you'll pull the triangle down as best as you can, unscrew the bolt until the triangle actually fits underneath, like that. And then you just give it a couple turns to tighten it down and make sure that it's secure. And you will pretty much do the exact same process using the other side. So then taking the other bracket, sticking the non-threaded end in through the hole, moving the triangle down the best that you can. There we go. Getting that nice and snug to the edge, and then giving the bottom nut a couple turns here, which will then lock the tool into place. And as you can see, I'm pretty much moving the whole table because the miter box is secure. So now what you'll do is you'll take your tubing, and in my case I was using a little bit of a knife to score the edge here where I needed it cut. You line that up, put it in the channel that you need to, and then proceed to cut it. Pretty much there's not much more to it than that. You'll use your hand or another clamping device to hold the tubing actually into the miter saw box as you would, and then you begin your cut. And this isn't exactly the most sturdy table, so there we go. You have your two pieces or your one piece, depending on which one that it is, and it's been cut at a nice straight angle, and you are pretty much good to go. This kit here and the saw is readily available from Alphacool and its many distributors, and would be a great tool to any hard tubing build. These are the Alphacool Eiszyklon RGB fans. These particular versions that I have in front of me are the 120mm versions, and this one I have in my hand is the RGB LT. The difference between the LT and the regular RGB is the LT has a diffused glass or a frosted glass halo all the way around the outside of the fan, which adds a nice glowing halo effect to this particular model. The one that's over here is the Aurora RGB, just the standard one. Both fans are 25mm thick and have a insulated grommet to reduce vibrations created by the fan. Each fan comes with a power connector and a RGB connector. The LT version comes with a 3-pin or a Molex connector, which just provides power to the fan, as well as the 4-pin RGB header, which is proprietary for most motherboards. This is the Alphacool Eismatrix, and what the Eismatrix is designed to do is to allow you to hook up all of your fans together and all of your RGB components that are made by Alphacool. The unit comes in a nice box, all laid out real nice for you. The unit itself is about the size of a USB hub or a network switch. But as you can see, has two different ports here. The top port is for your LED plug, and the bottom port is for your fan. You don't necessarily have to use the ports in conjunction with each other, what you can do is actually use one of the adapter cables to go from the RGB port to another product. So you have the unit here and the box that has the cables inside of it. The cables, you have the power cable, which is just a standard SATA connection. You have 2 adapter cables that allows you to connect from the RGB top part of the port to an additional product. You also have the link cable that allows you to connect more than one of these units together. And then you also have the extension cables for your fans. So what we're going to do today is show you how to use this unit and actually install the fans and connect everything together. The first step is obviously you're going to need power. So you're going to take the female end and connect it to the male side of the connector. Boom. And that's how you give it power. Then you'll provide this end from your power supply to a standard SATA power. We're going to be using the Alphacool Eiszyklon Aurora RGB fan. So this one in my hand here is the 1100 RPM, and then we also have the 1300 RPM as an example. Now the controller allows you to hook up to a number of 14 fans altogether, or 14 different objects, but we're going to just show you an example today. And so with using one of these particular fans, you have 2 cables that come out of it. You have the RGB cable that has the white stripe as the positive side, and then you have the actual fan power. So in order to connect it, all you'll have to do is plug in the fan power. As you can see, these fans are actually only 3-pin, which is still fine. And if you look in there closely, you can see that there's a little notch where the 3-pin is supposed to go. Simply connect that in. And then same with your RGB connector. Again, as you can see, you have the one white wire to show you that this is the positive side. And again, if you look inside of there, you can see that there's a notch for you to simply slide the connector right in, and it clicks right in. There you go, all set. Now, once you provide this unit with power, this fan will turn on and begin to cycle. But what we're going to do is set up all of the fans first and then show you how to operate the actual software that you can download from the Google Play Store or the iStore. Now that the Eismatrix has been completely wired, what you can do is provide it power. But before I provide it power, what I'm going to do is show you how to use this adapter cable in the event that you wanted to use, say, one of the Alphacool RGB rings. What you would do is then connect the RGB to the adapter there, and then you need to go from either this to say a 90-degree connector, or to an extension cable, because this is a male pinout and the Alphacool products are a male pinout. So I'm going to use, again, this 90-degree adapter to join the two, and this 90-degree adapter or the extension cable is not included in the kit. Alright, so now that I have everything wired in, I'm going to provide it power via the SATA power port. And as you can see, everything turns on and functions exactly how it should. The fans function and fade through RGB, as well as the Eismatrix also glows through the X and through the logo, and your LED ring will also be working correctly. So in order to adjust any of the settings that are on the fans or on the Eismatrix or anything like that, you'll need a cell phone, and you will need to download the Eismatrix app. Simply install it, then open the software. Once you've entered the app, then select the Eismatrix, which is usually pretty obvious on which device it is. Once you connect, then you have the ability to cycle through the different colors of the fans simply by using your finger on the color wheel. On top of that, you also have the ability to select how fast or how slow the fan is going. There are also a load of different preset options available to you. If you want it to play to one of your favorite tunes, all you have to do is go into the music library and sync one of the songs together. Or, if you want to do it all yourself, you can create your own pattern.
In this video, I will show you the best of CES 2019 product Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme. You will get the unboxing, all the fancy technical details, and I will show you the installation into the Cooler Master Cosmos case. The Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme is an all-in-one that is stronger, more beautiful and quieter than anything I've seen on the all-in-one market before. We've taken the award-winning Eisblock X-Big CPU cooler, which looks absolutely fantastic due to its sleek, simple design. This CPU block is perfect for those who want high performance. You can mount the Eisblock on all common AMD and Intel sockets and thus always remain flexible. For the first time, the Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme featured the new Eisbaer Ready Quick Release couplings. As these are compatible to all Eiswolf and Eisbaer Ready Quick couplings, you have the possibility to expand your Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme at any time. The completely redesigned and powerful ice pump gives you the flow you need. It can be controlled via PWM and has 5 adjustable levels, which you can set via the small controller on the back. In addition, the software has been improved and the bearings of the ceramic axis has been newly modified. Alphacool has found a particular attractive solution for the radiator and fans. Alphacool has enclosed the radiator and fans inside an enclosure, meaning that everything is far easier to install. The pump reservoir combination is also included in the housing, ensuring your system is neat, tidy and performs great with minimal effort. The fans are yet another highlight for the Eisbaer Extreme. In cooperation with the well-known manufacturer Be Quiet, Alphacool uses the excellent Silent Wing 3 fans out to the Nexus radiator. These fans are known for their high performance and no noise output. With the Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme, you decide how to set it up. So, installing the CPU, you can expand it anytime here, and of course you can mount the radiator horizontally or vertically. Take care that when you mount it into your case is big enough so that it does not hit your motherboard. So if you want to mount such a big all-in-one, there's a possibility to mount it here at the top and at the front. So what I will do is I will remove now the covers and the fan or radiator tray from the top and the front and then show you the different mounting possibilities. In this case, the Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme could have also been mounted in the front panel, so check out what case you have where you can mount it. So this was Nathaniel from Alphacool. I wish you a great day and enjoy the Alphacool Eisbaer Extreme.
Hello, it's Dave here from Alphacool, and today we're going to have a look at the Eiszapfen Pro hardline fittings. These fittings come in 4 parts. They've got a fitting base, an insert to stop PETG tubing from deforming, a large O-ring and a compression fitting top. It's very easy to put these on the tube. You simply put the compression fitting top on first, followed by the large O-ring, then the insert, and then finally you push the whole thing into the base and screw it on. The fittings are available in 2 different colours, black and silver, and also 2 different sizes, 13mm and 16mm. The Eisapfen Pro fittings are available to use with pretty much any kind of tubing. You're talking brass, copper, nickel plated brass, PETG, acrylic and glass. This is thanks to the very large O-ring that grips onto all these shiny surfaces. I get to almost 21 kilograms before I hit the camera and then just quit for the day. So I'm out. See ya.